So I recently made a video on how I learned Japanese, like my personal experience. But if I'm being honest, I didn't really learn in the best way. There's like some mistakes I made along the way that definitely made my learning slower. I could have gotten to where I am today at a much faster pace if I used what I'm about to tell you. So it is a video that I wish I had when I first started learning Japanese, but I didn't, so now I'm making it for you guys. Just a quick disclaimer. This video is going to be how to learn Japanese from zero to fluency as fast as possible. Fast does not mean easy. It's actually going to be a pretty hardcore method. So only watch this video if you're serious about learning Japanese. If you're not serious, I don't know, just go watch something else. Also, there's going to be a full step-by-step in-depth guide, so the video might be a little bit long, so apologize in advance. Step 1, hiragana and katakana. So if you guys don't know, Japanese has 3 writing scripts: hiragana, katakana, and kanji. So hiragana is used for purely Japanese words. Words like ringo, arigato, yarimasu. And katakana is used for like foreign loan words like chizu, party, desu, that kind of stuff, right? So what we want to do is learn hiragana and katakana. This can easily be done using flashcards and mnemonic devices. So a mnemonic device is just anything that helps you remember something. So for example, here is the katakana for a. And as you can see, it looks like an axe. So a for axe. There you go. Now you know this is a. Just do this with flashcards and you'll be good to go. Learn hiragana, katakana with flashcards. It shouldn't take that long. Couple days, weeks tops if you guys are serious. Also, when you're doing these flashcards, make sure you guys do it with the sound of a native speaker. So really understand the accent and the pronunciation from early on to set down good habits. So you don't want to sound like the goofy American tourist when you're in Japan, right? You want to sound like an actual native speaker. So from now, get the accent down. This is also a good place to start learning the numbers. Learn numbers like 1 through 10 up to like 100 or even 1,000. It's not that super important right now, but just get a feel for it. You can use any like online learning device for this, like an app, YouTube videos. It really doesn't matter. Just do whatever you want to do. Numbers and hiragana, katakana. So for hiragana, katakana, make sure you use like flashcards. Mnemonic devices are not super necessary, but they do help you remember. So if you want to do it fast, which what this video is about, learning it fast, use mnemonic devices. So hiragana, katakana, learn some numbers. Okay, the next step is to learn super basic and commonly used words / verbs. All right, so if you're like a weeb, you probably already know like some words like sugoi or like arigato and all that stuff, right? But now it's time to actually learn some like real Japanese, bro. So use the hiragana that you know to learn the super basic verbs such as like to eat, to sleep, to drink, to go, all these things, right? Now that you know kana, you can like actually learn these with Japanese. So you can just go to like a frequency list of like, oh, most frequently used verbs or whatever. I'm sure you can find it online. You don't even have to, just do whatever basic ones that come to your mind and just look at these like, oh, to go, to sleep, to eat, etc. When learning these, you might see that it has its word in the kanji format. For example, taberu, to eat. More often than not, you're gonna see it in its hiragana format as well, like maybe like down below or up above. Just look at its hiragana because that's all you know for now. Trust me, we will get to kanji, but for now, hiragana. Also at this point, feel free to learn any kind of words that you want to know. Okay, so you know your hiragana and katakana. You know some basic verbs and some basic words now. Now it's time to put these together to make sentences. But you can't, bro. You're missing something called particles. Particles, these things, are what put sentences together. They connect words and verbs and phrases to make sentences. They're the connectors. And to make grammatically valid sentences, we need them. I could honestly make like a whole video regarding particles, but for now, you can just use any like online source, whether it's YouTube videos or like websites. You can even use a textbook if you want. Just search up like Japanese particles and just read up on them. It's honestly not that hard. And then, so you can get used to seeing these in action, watch Japanese content or read Japanese books, right? Super simple stuff. It doesn't have to be like hardcore anime, just super simple stuff. You're just doing this so you can get used to seeing these and like how they connect the sentences. So yeah, just any like online source, even though I don't like textbooks, you can use textbooks too if you want for this. It's really not that hard. Just learn them. This is also the stage where we gotta learn kanji, everybody's favorite. Depending on who you are and how much you love Japanese or not, this could be the most frustrating part of the entire language learning journey. So just fair warning, but bro, it's not that bad. Like, we're all weebs, like we're built for this. So similar to kana, the best way to learn kanji is through flashcards. And we're gonna do this with Anki. So Anki is an application or a program, if you will, for computer that's used for flashcard reviewing. But what makes Anki different is that it uses something called an SRS, Space Repetition System. This is something like an algorithm that it only shows you the flashcard or the card you need to learn right when you're about to forget it. So it's unlike Quizlet where you just review the same cards every single day. With Anki, you're only going to review the cards that you need to know. Like right before you're about to forget it, it shows you the card. It's honestly a pretty cool algorithm. So similar to Quizlet, there's already a bunch of pre-made decks out there. So get Anki installed and use the deck I just put down below in the description. Use that. Essentially, it's just a kanji on one part of the card, and on the back side, it's like the meaning and like how to read it. For now, just focus on the meaning. We'll get to the reading part. Trust me, we will. You can also use mnemonic devices for these. Like if a certain kanji looks a certain way, you can like add to the card or whatever about how you can make that a mnemonic device to help you remember it. But for now, the kanji on one part, and then the backside is going to be the meaning. We're gonna do around 15 cards per day, 15 new cards per day. Be consistent with this. This is learning kanji in its most basic, purest form. So you're gonna do 15 cards per day, not miss a single day, and then the algorithm will do the rest for you. Just put in the work and you'll get the results. I wanna keep in mind, this will only get you the meanings of the card, of the kanji. Only the meaning. We still don't know how to read these kanji. So how are we gonna do that? We're gonna start by watching Japanese content with Japanese subtitles. No English. So you don't have to do this. The sooner you start doing this, the better. But start watching Japanese content, whether it's Japanese YouTube, Japanese Netflix, Hulu, whatever. Just find content in Japanese where you can put Japanese subtitles with. And really pay attention. Don't even worry about understanding what's going on or whether or not you can like pick up the meaning. Don't even worry about that for now. Just get used to hearing Japanese and get used to seeing these particles, the kanji, and how when they say the kanji, pick up on that. So at this point, I do highly recommend you guys start watching Japanese content. Okay, let's do a quick little recap. You know kana, you know the particles, you know some kanjis, right? Mostly the meanings of like a couple hundred kanji, but you can read a little bit. You know sentence structure, you know how to form really basic sentences. Honestly, you've gotten a lot farther than like the average weeb who's trying to learn Japanese, so be proud of yourself. That being said, we still can't conjugate verbs. Verb conjugation is like when you change the verb to like, bro, what is verb conjugation? I don't know how to explain this. This is verb conjugation, okay? But Japanese verb conjugations are pretty simple, to be honest with you, and they transfer over quite nicely to like a lot of the verbs in Japanese. So when it comes to verb conjugations, you're gonna want to know the formal way of saying something, the casual way, the past tense, the negative tense, and the past negative tense. It sounds like a lot, but it's honestly not that bad. So for example, there's taberu, to eat. Casual is taberu. Formal is tabemasu. Then to say it in the past way, like the past tense, it's tabeta in casual or tabemashita in formal. The negative would be tabenai for casual or tabemasen for formal. Not that bad. And then the negative past would be tabenakatta for casual and tabemasen deshita for formal. It seems like a lot, but it's pretty much the same for almost all the verbs in the language, with a few exceptions here and there. But for pretty much all the verbs, it's that same formula. So get that formula down, and then you're pretty much good for almost all the verbs. There's also some more that you should know, like te form, potential form, all this stuff, but you can learn these along the way as you start immersing. You'll start seeing them more when you start watching Japanese content, and you'll be like, bro, what is this? I'm so tired of seeing this. What is this? And then you end up picking it up this way. So for now, learn the ones that I just showed you, and then learn more along the way as you go. I want to make it clear, if you haven't started watching Japanese content at this point, get on that. Like, you really need to get on that. Start reading Japanese books, watch Japanese shows, Japanese YouTube, Japanese Hulu, Netflix, all this stuff. Start watching it. It's gonna help you start seeing all these verb conjugations, these particles, these new forms, the kanji readings, like out in the wild. So it's gonna really stick in your head much more. Okay, at this point, you know all your kana. You know the meanings of around 200, maybe 250 kanji. You know all your particles. You know a good amount of verb conjugations, and you can form and understand basic sentences. Now it's time for the most funnest part of the whole language learning process. It's now time to make a full switch to Japanese content. You're gonna make a new YouTube account where you only watch and subscribe to Japanese YouTubers. You're gonna watch Netflix, only Japanese shows with Japanese subtitles. You're going to only read Japanese books. You're going to start living your life as a Japanese person, consuming only Japanese content. This is called immersion. You are immersing yourself in the Japanese language at this point. At this point, you're going to make a new Anki deck for new words that you see along your way. So when you're watching all this Japanese stuff, you're reading all these Japanese books, you're going to see that there's going to be new words that just keep showing up. The same word just keeps showing up. These are common words that you need to know. Start putting these in your deck by having the sentence on one card on the front, and then on the back, you're going to have how to say that word, the meaning, and all that good stuff, anything else that you want to know. This is also how we're going to start knowing the readings of more kanjis. We're going to see these words in action, and we're going to keep seeing the same kanji over and over again. Then we're going to put the word into a card, the card into the deck, and we're going to keep reviewing that. Here's an example. Let's say I came across this new word, kaifu, and it's in the context of a sentence. I'm just looking for that word, kaifu. It keeps showing up and I want to know what it is. So I'm going to make a new Anki card where I put the word kaifu in a sentence where I know all the words except for that word, kaifu. An example would be like, package yo kaifu shimasu. And I know all the words in this except for kaifu. So then when I flip it on the backside, it's going to have how to read this word, kaifu, the meaning, to open, and then something else I'll remember, what, like a picture, whatever. You don't even have to do this part. And then you just keep doing this for words that you see over and over again. These common words that you're gonna come across a lot. It's really important that you put the new word that you're trying to learn in the context of a sentence, not stand alone. This just helps your brain remember it much better, if I'm being honest. I don't know why, but your brain remembers things in context better than standalone. So just put it in the context of a sentence where you know every other word in the sentence except for this new word that you're trying to learn. Low-hanging fruit. So now you might be asking, what content should I be watching? And honestly, you can just watch anything you want. Whatever interests you. Whatever you like, honestly. If you like sports, watch in Japanese. If you like mystery or like horror, just watch in Japanese. That being said, I recommend starting off with slice of life and romance stuff because these shows tend to use like everyday spoken Japanese that you'll actually like use in everyday conversation, give or take. So I do recommend that's a good place to start, but it's honestly up to you. Watch whatever you want. Just know that some things are going to be harder than others just because we're limited right now in our ability. One important thing to note is that the more time you spend consuming Japanese content, the faster you're going to reach fluency. So if you're spending just 1 hour a day watching Japanese shows, or your whole like 8 hours watching Japanese shows, the more hours you spend, the faster you'll get there. I also have to stress the importance of Anki when it comes to putting in new words. It's really important that you put new words into Anki. I recommend like 10 new cards a day. That way it forces you to immerse and you can learn 10 new words per day. And only add the commonly used words. How do you know if a word's commonly used? Let's say I'm immersing and I see a word, random word, never seen before. How do I know if it's commonly used? Just like put it into like a frequency list. You can just like copy and paste it, put it into a frequency list, and then see where that is in the frequency list. If it's anything after 1000, it's not worth your time right now. It will be eventually, but as a beginner, it's still not worth your time. really look at these really commonly used words. I say like top 1000 because you have to understand about the 80-20 rule, where the minority makes up the majority of the results. In language, it's the exact same way. The most commonly used like 1000 words make up around like 90% of the language, depending on the language, of course, but it makes up like a huge part of it. So really focus on these commonly used 1000 words right now, and then you can branch off into whatever you want to do later down the line. A question you might have is like, instead of getting these words from my immersion, why don't I just go directly to the frequency list and use those? And honestly, you can do that, go ahead. But the thing is, you still have to immerse. There's no point in studying all of these new words without ever seeing them used in practice. That's how you're gonna know like where to use them, in what context, how should I use them. You gotta see these words in day to day. So with like YouTube or like Netflix or books, you need to know how these words actually function in a sentence. So yeah, you could go ahead and do that. That actually might be faster, but immersion is still a non-negotiable. You have to do it. You also might have noticed that I haven't spoken about grammar once up until now. And that's because you learn grammar as you immerse. So there's no need to like learn it at the beginning. It's just gonna confuse you. Now is actually a good time to start learning grammar through immersion. For example, in your immersion, you might notice that you can read every word in a sentence, but you're still confused, like, why don't I get the meaning of a sentence? It's because there's a grammar part that you're still not understanding. So just like look up that grammar part in like jisho.org or whatever dictionary you want to do for Japanese, and then just put it in like your Anki deck, and then study as if it's like a normal vocab word. I honestly found that to be the best way to learn grammar. If you have a better way, go for it, but this is like the most efficient way in my opinion. Okay, so after you've been immersing for a long time, however long you want to honestly, it's now time to practice speaking. So you had all this input going into your brain. Now it's time to actually practice outputting it, which is a really important part of language, right? Speaking. Outputting is the act of using the knowledge that you gain and actually being able to use it. So find some Japanese friends or people who know Japanese, or just go on Hello Talk, which is like a social media app for language learners, and just practice speaking. Like, don't be shy, just do it. We practice speaking so we can avoid the problem that some people have, where they can understand a language fluently, yet they still can't speak it right. Like some can't even speak it at all, despite them being able to understand it fluently. This is a problem of just being able to use the knowledge that you have. You have the knowledge already set in your brain. Now it's just a matter of being able to use it. So to avoid the problem, we practice speaking. So if you're currently having a problem where you can understand a language but can't speak it, the fix is honestly really simple. It's just speaking. Just practice speaking more. At this point, I keep it as like an every so often thing. The problem with speaking too early is that when you're speaking too early, you end up making mistakes. And these mistakes can end up becoming habits that become hard to fix later down the line. So I would keep it as an every so often thing. While you're immersing really heavy, maybe like, let's say like once every 2 weeks, you find somebody online and you practice talking for like an hour or 2 hours. I think that's a really good way to do it. So I recommend for now speaking only every now and then until you start immersing for a longer time, and then you can become more confident in your speaking abilities, you make less mistakes, and you can talk as much as you want to. And now it's just a matter of taking it as far as you want to take it. It's about just going back and forth between the last 2 steps of speaking and immersing. You can immerse however much you want to do, then you practice speaking, and then you can immerse into like different domains. For example, if you're into like medicine, you start immersing in the domain of medicine. You start learning medical terms. Or if you're into cooking, you start learning kitchen and culinary terms, and you immerse in that, and then you can start speaking in those. So it is a matter of going back and forth between the last 2 steps for honestly as however much you want to take it. If you want to go up to fluency, go for it. If you want to just learn into a specific domain like cooking, go for it. Now the goal is really all up to you. You might be at a point where you're happy with your Japanese and you want to just quit Anki, and honestly just go for it if you want to. How long this will take is honestly up to you, about how long you're going to spend immersion, how many hours you're going to put into immersing. I've currently only been immersing seriously for like, I don't know, like 1 year, and I got pretty far into it. But if you just do it like more hours in the day for longer, you're gonna get to your destination much, much faster. Always feel free to come back to this video after you finish like whatever step you're at and you want to know what's next. Just feel free to come back to this video. There's also like much more helpful information that I want to share, but just not in this video because it's going to be way too long, like resources and tools to use. I'll have to make separate videos for that, so please stay tuned for that. But in the meantime, if you have any questions, put them down below and I'll answer them, and I will catch you guys in the next one, and best of luck.